This story is far from over. The tariffs, the protests, the political pressure, they are just the beginning. As events continue to unfold, one thing is certain: Greenland has emerged from obscurity to center stage, and the consequences for the US and the world could be enormous. Stay tuned, because the next chapter in this Arctic showdown is about to be written. Let's take a closer look at why Greenland matters so much. Beyond its ice and snow, Greenland sits atop vast mineral reserves, rare earth metals that power smartphones, military equipment, and green technologies. Whoever controls Greenland can influence global supply chains in ways most people never imagine. And it's not just about resources. Its location is strategically critical. The island lies along key Arctic shipping routes, and controlling those routes could give a country significant leverage over trade between the East and West. Now, think about the broader picture. Russia has already been expanding its presence in the Arctic with military bases and resource exploration projects. China, too, has shown interest in the Arctic's untapped potential. Trump's aggressive move is not just about Greenland, it's a message to other global powers. The United States is still willing to assert dominance, even in the harshest and most remote regions of the world. But the consequences are complex. Economists warn that tariffs, while politically powerful, can backfire. European nations may respond with counter-tariffs, raising prices for American consumers. Supply chains for industries from agriculture to electronics could face disruption. And while this may play well to some domestic audiences, internationally it risks isolating the United States at a time when global cooperation is more critical than ever. Meanwhile, back in Washington, the debate is heating up. Lawmakers from both parties are weighing in. Some argue that Trump's tactics are brilliant, a bold negotiation strategy that demonstrates strength. Others warn that the strategy risks alienating key allies and undermining decades of diplomatic work. The tension is palpable. Even within the Republican Party, whispers of disapproval are growing louder. Analysts are asking, is this a calculated risk or a reckless gamble? And it doesn't end there. Social media has exploded with reactions. Videos of protests in Greenland, commentary from European officials, and even memes from everyday citizens are circulating worldwide. For many, it's surreal. An island covered in ice, virtually unknown to most Americans, has suddenly become the center of global attention. The world is watching, and every move, every tweet, every statement carries weight. Let's talk about the human side of this story. Greenland is home to communities who rely on fishing, hunting, and local resources to survive. The sudden geopolitical spotlight has brought uncertainty to their lives. Local leaders are speaking out, warning that foreign interference could disrupt their culture, economy, and way of life. It's a reminder that behind every political maneuver are real people whose futures are affected. As we analyze this further, the question emerges: what will Trump do next? Will he double down on tariffs, risking further international conflict? Will he attempt to negotiate with European leaders privately, seeking a compromise? Or will public pressure, both domestic and abroad, force him to retreat? Each scenario carries its own risks and consequences, not just for the United States, but for the delicate balance of power in Europe and the Arctic. And while the world speculates, there's another layer to consider: the messaging to domestic audiences. Trump has long positioned himself as a bold, uncompromising leader. Moves like this resonate with supporters who value assertive action and disruption of the status quo. But even as it rallies some, it could alienate others, those concerned about the economic fallout, the diplomatic risks, or the moral implications of pressuring a distant, largely defenseless territory. The Greenland story is also a window into the future of geopolitics. The Arctic, long ignored, is now emerging as a new arena for power struggles. Climate change is opening shipping lanes and revealing resources previously locked beneath ice. Countries that act decisively now may secure long-term strategic advantages. The stakes are enormous, and the ripple effects could last decades. And so, the story continues to unfold in real time. Every protest, every diplomatic statement, every move by Trump, every response from Europe, and every reaction from the American public is a piece of this puzzle. Analysts and commentators are trying to predict the next chapter, but in a story this complex, certainty is impossible. One thing is clear: Greenland has gone from obscurity to global headlines in a matter of days, and its future may depend as much on strategy and negotiation as it does on ice and geography.
Perfect. Let's continue expanding the script so it builds suspense, keeps viewers engaged, and flows naturally toward a full 1-hour long form video. I'll go deeper into Europe's reaction, economic stakes, military strategy, and domestic political drama. And while Greenland may seem remote, the world is watching closely. European capitals are buzzing with concern. Denmark, the island's sovereign nation, has made it clear Greenland is not for sale, and U.S. pressure will not be tolerated. Officials from Germany, France, and the United Kingdom have echoed similar statements, warning that the tariff threat undermines trust and cooperation. In Brussels, NATO officials are quietly expressing concern that this confrontation could weaken the alliance's cohesion, which has been a cornerstone of Western security for decades. Every comment, every protest, every tweet from leaders abroad is shaping a tense, high-stakes chess game. The economic stakes are just as high. Tariffs are rarely just numbers on paper. They affect real businesses and real people. European exporters face higher costs, which could lead to rising prices for goods in the United States. American farmers, tech companies, and manufacturers may feel the pinch as trade tensions rise. Analysts warn that supply chains could be disrupted, not just temporarily, but for months or even years if negotiations collapse. In short, this is more than a political stunt. It is a potential economic earthquake stretching across continents. Then there's the military angle. Greenland is strategically critical in the Arctic. With vast ice-covered terrain and access to key shipping lanes, it's a location coveted by nations with ambitions in the region. Russia has been steadily expanding its Arctic military presence, establishing bases and monitoring global activity. China has signaled interest in Arctic trade routes and resource extraction. By asserting dominance over Greenland, the U.S. sends a clear message to competitors: the Arctic is on its radar, and it intends to defend its influence. But with every aggressive move, the risk of miscalculation increases, a reminder that even seemingly frozen lands can ignite global tension. Inside the United States, the political implications are just as dramatic. Republican leaders are divided. Some hail the president's actions as bold and decisive, applauding his willingness to challenge European powers. Others fear the long-term consequences, warning that alienating allies could undermine decades of diplomatic work and destabilize international relationships. Even Democrats, while critical, are studying the administration's strategy, weighing the potential lessons and mistakes for future policy. Congress is watching closely, and debates in committee rooms behind closed doors could have ripple effects that shape U.S. foreign policy for years to come. The domestic public is watching too, and reactions are polarized. Supporters of Trump view this as a decisive demonstration of strength, a bold move that asserts America's dominance on the world stage. Critics see recklessness, a gamble that risks global isolation and economic fallout. Media outlets across the spectrum are dissecting every statement, every move, every nuance of the tariff threat. Social media amplifies the story further, with memes, opinion pieces, and video coverage flooding feeds. The debate is no longer abstract, it is visible, loud, and urgent. And then there are the human stories, the people of Greenland. For centuries, their communities have relied on fishing, hunting, and small-scale mining for survival. Suddenly, their island is in the global spotlight, and with it comes uncertainty and anxiety. Local leaders warn that foreign interference could disrupt their economy, culture, and way of life. For ordinary citizens, what was once a quiet, remote home is now a center of global attention. Their voices, protests, and concerns add another layer of complexity to an already tense situation. As we continue to follow this story, the question grows: how far will the United States push? Will the tariffs be enough to secure leverage? Will Europe retaliate economically? Could this spark a diplomatic crisis? Analysts warn that each escalation brings consequences that may extend far beyond Greenland, affecting trade, security, and alliances across the globe. Every decision made in the coming days is being watched by governments, corporations, and citizens worldwide. This is also a story about strategy and perception. Trump's administration has long been defined by bold, confrontational moves, from trade wars to aggressive foreign policy. The Greenland decision fits into that pattern, signaling that the United States is willing to take dramatic steps to assert its power. But strategy is a two-edged sword. Every bold move carries risk, and the potential for miscalculation is ever present. In geopolitics, even a single misstep can cascade into larger crises. The tension is palpable. Europe pushes back, protests grow louder, Congress debates, analysts speculate, businesses worry. The Arctic, once seen as a frozen frontier, has transformed into a flashpoint for power, strategy, and influence. What happens next is uncertain, but the stakes are clear. Greenland is no longer just an island. It is a symbol, a bargaining chip, and a battleground for the global balance of power. If history teaches us anything, it's that bold moves often invite bold responses. In the coming weeks, we could see negotiations, escalations, or unexpected resolutions. And while the headlines focus on tariffs and politics, the broader lesson is this: even the most remote parts of the world can suddenly become central to global strategy, economics, and diplomacy. Greenland is a small island, but the consequences of what happens here could ripple across the globe. This story is far from over. As protests continue, as European leaders respond, as the U.S. navigates internal political divisions, one thing is certain: the world is watching. Every decision, every tweet, every press conference could change the course of events. Greenland has emerged from obscurity to center stage, and the coming weeks will reveal just how high the stakes truly are.